taught that for 6 weeks just recently in Life of Prayer. I came in here and gave you a lesson on it. Do you remember? If any of you, it's on Facebook, I believe. You can find it on Alfredo's your Twitter account. Because I went back to listen to it. I gave such a Verity consciousness talk. The whole thing was Verity consciousness. And you know what I did? At the end, I spent 5 minutes doing vessel consciousness prayers with you. That's how I ended it. I was like, whoa! BJ, wake up. Wake up. And these prayers were all from a publication from Unity. I didn't write them. We're going to talk about that. Because this is a shared condition in Unity. We're in level 3 of consciousness. Many of us. Not all of us. Okay? I've even studied and preached on the 4 levels of consciousness before, as presented by Michael Beckwith. Do you remember me doing that? Where you have the victim. There's 4 levels, by the way, folks. Michael Beckwith has a system, and it's really exactly the same as what Paul Hasselbeck is presenting right now. Michael Beckwith is he's a religious science minister. He has the Agape Church out in California. I think they have like a membership of 2,000 or whatever, but he's done a lot of work on these levels of consciousness, and there's the victim consciousness. The manifestor consciousness is level 2. The surrender consciousness is level 3. And the 4th level is the mastery level. So it's the same thing. So when his surrender consciousness level is the same as what Paul calls vessel. Paul calls it victim. It's easier to remember Paul's because it's victim, victor, vessel, verity. Okay? Isn't that nice? The 4 V's. And I've even preached an old Hindu legend that is the prologue in Eric Butterworth's book, Discover the Power Within You, many times, by the way, and I'm going to read it to you again today, because it's here, but I haven't really understood it. So according to an old Hindu legend, there was a time when all men were gods, but they so abused their divinity that Brahma, the chief god, decided to take it away from men and hide it where they would never find it. Where to hide it became the big question. When the lesser gods were called in council to consider this question, they said, "We'll bury man's divinity deep in the earth." But Brahma said, "No, that will not do. For man will dig deep down into the earth and find it." Then they said, "Well, we will sink his divinity into the deepest ocean." But again, Brahma replied, "No, not there, for man will learn to dive into the deepest waters, will search out the ocean bed, and will find it." Then the lesser gods said, "We will take it to the top of the highest mountain and there hide it." But again, Brahma replied, "No, for man will eventually climb every high mountain on earth. He will be sure someday to find it and take it up again for himself." Then the lesser gods gave up and concluded, "We do not know where to hide it, for it seems there's no place on earth or in the sea that man will not eventually reach." Then Brahma said, "Here is what we will do with man's divinity. We will hide it deep down in man himself, for he will never think to look for it there." Ever since then, the legend concludes, man has been going up and down the earth, climbing, digging, diving, exploring, searching for something that is already in himself. 2,000 years ago, a man named Jesus found it and shared its secret. But in the movement that sprang up in his name, the divinity in man has been the best kept secret of the ages. So I still, after all that teaching and reading and preaching, I still didn't get it. I was still stuck smack in that 3rd level of consciousness, of surrendering, of being a vessel. I mean, even my personal mission statement, which I have shared in many of my classes with many of my True Statement students, what is it? God, may I be a channel of truth. a beacon of light, an instrument of peace, a vessel of love, a vibration of joy, an expression of your living presence in all that I say, think, and do. I mean, my mission statement. I love to pray to God. I love to pray to Jesus. I love to pray to the archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel. I call them in all the time. This has been my prayer life, folks, for probably the last decade. I do want to say, when I first entered Unity in 1994, I was totally in the victim consciousness. Well, I don't want to say totally. I was totally in the level of victim consciousness in my 20s, I would say. For me personally, being a sexual abuse survivor, I dedicated 22 years of my life working with victims of sexual assault, with victims of domestic violence. We call them survivors, of course. But I still had that victim consciousness. I was starting to change in that career where, because there's so much emphasis in working with survivors of sexual assault and domestic violence around empowerment, that I started to understand that. And so by the time I left that career to go into ministry, I would say I was on the cusp of really stepping into victor consciousness, the next level, and Unity was what I needed to push me there. Many people who come into Unity, by the way, are in victim consciousness, but they are ready for the second level. They're so excited about victor consciousness. Do you know what victor consciousness is about? Victor consciousness is when you learn that you have the power within to create your life, right? Don't we teach that through your thoughts, through your feelings, your words, your actions, the laws, the universal laws, the law of mind action? You know, we have fun manifesting parking spaces and manifesting really great things in our lives when we get this. Then nothing happens to us. As Michael Beckworth says in Victor Consciousness, it's by us. All right? And so I would say when I first came into Unity, maybe I just attracted to me like-minded people. It seemed like a lot of people were in victor consciousness. We were getting so excited, understanding our own inner power and what we could manifest in our lives. That there is no accidents or coincidences or things that happen to us, right? Does this sound familiar to any of you who take prosperity classes and learn how to manifest all this abundance in your lives? No, I can't, you know, that kind of thing. So, in the beginning of Unity, probably my first 10 years, I was really learning how to solidly stand in the victor consciousness. And then I moved into, once I got that I could manifest anything my heart desired, then the next level is that surrender level, right? That realizing that those powers aren't about feeding my personality, you know, aren't about getting my ego needs met. It's fun to do that and to explore that and to have that experience, but finally you come up higher and see maybe you're here to be in service to something more than you. And so you go through this process of surrendering to your higher self, to what we call God or Spirit to move in and through and as you. And I always taught, remember how I used to teach you can't go from victim to surrender. You can't go from victim to vessel. You know why? Because as a victim, you have nothing to offer. You have to learn how to be a victor. You have to learn how to have power and to manifest and to demonstrate in this world in order to then say, not my will, but thy will be done in and through me. Make sense? A lot of times as victims, we want to go right to, I surrender, God. You know, vessel consciousness is really just a higher version of victim consciousness, and I'll be talking to you about that more in a few minutes through Paul's writing. But you've got to learn how to manifest. And I know some of us are still struggling to do that, right? Yeah. How to have health in our lives. How to have prosperity, financial prosperity. How to have healthy relationships, peace of mind and heart. How to have fulfilling careers. All of the things that are yours. Promise to you. So, I've been really comfortable, I would say, for about a decade in the vessel consciousness. It feels really good to me. I got the affirmations down, the prayers down. It's second nature. I don't have to think about it, and boom! My whole world has been shook up, right? Talk about chemicalization. All my beliefs are getting challenged right now. And some people are so challenged by Paul that they have just shut him off. And I understand that, because there's a certain point in life where you say, enough. I am not going to grow anymore. I believe what I believe. Don't challenge it. Some people are very angry at him. It's so funny. He went and he spent a week with Next Generation Unity. These are kids in their 20s and 30s. You know what they called him? You know what his name is now? The God Slayer. Oh, they were so upset with him. You're slaying my God. How dare you? So, God bless him. He's on a mission. He's very passionate about what he's doing. But I want to let you know, to get back, that this is not the first time I've heard this. Eric Butterworth was teaching this when I was in seminary. He teaches it in all his books. Read his book.